The quiet woman everyone underestimated. When Mrs. Eleanor Wright first stepped into the grand house of her son's in-laws, no one noticed her arrival. The marble floors reflected the crystal chandeliers above, and voices filled the air with polite laughter and practiced smiles. Eleanor stood near the doorway, holding a modest handbag, wearing a plain gray dress she had owned for years. Her hair was neatly tied back, with no jewelry except a small silver watch, old, scratched, and not fashionable. People glanced at her briefly, then looked away. She was the mother of Daniel Wright, a successful software engineer who had recently married Amelia Carter, the only daughter of the well-known Carter family. The Carters were wealthy, influential, and proud of it. Their house was a symbol of status, and everyone who entered seemed eager to prove they belonged there. Eleanor did not try to impress anyone. She never had. She quietly removed her shoes at the entrance, careful not to scuff the polished floor, and waited for someone to guide her. No one did. "She must be the maid," someone whispered nearby. Eleanor heard it clearly. She smiled faintly, not in pain, but in understanding. Eleanor Wright had lived a life most people could not imagine. Decades earlier, she had been one of the most respected authors in the country. Her novels explored human nature, loss, resilience, and quiet strength. Her books were studied in universities, translated into multiple languages, and praised for their emotional depth. But fame had never interested her. After her husband passed away, Eleanor chose a life of simplicity. She stopped public appearances, refused interviews, and quietly donated most of her earnings to educational charities. To the world, she had disappeared. To herself, she had finally found peace. Daniel, her only son, knew the truth, but he respected her choice. She asked for nothing except honesty and kindness. And now, standing in the Carter household, Eleanor wondered how much kindness lived behind wealth. Amelia's mother, Victoria Carter, noticed Eleanor only after several minutes. "Oh," Victoria said, her eyes scanning Eleanor from head to toe. "You must be Daniel's mother. Welcome." Her smile was polite but empty. "Thank you," Eleanor replied softly. Victoria gestured vaguely toward a chair in the corner. "You can sit there. Dinner will be served shortly." Then she turned away to greet more important guests. Eleanor sat. No one asked about her journey. No one offered her tea. Conversations flowed around her, discussing business deals, vacations abroad, and expensive schools. Eleanor listened, observing quietly. At dinner, Eleanor was seated far from the center of the table. The food was exquisite, yet she ate slowly, carefully, grateful for the meal. "She doesn't seem very educated," whispered Amelia's aunt. "So quiet." "Probably a simple village woman," another replied. Eleanor heard every word. She remembered book launches, standing ovations, readers who cried while thanking her for stories that changed their lives, and yet here she was invisible. She did not correct them. Silence, she believed, revealed more than argument ever could. Amelia watched everything. She felt uncomfortable, but said nothing. Raised in a world where appearance mattered more than depth, she struggled between loyalty to her family and respect for her husband's mother. Why doesn't she speak more? Amelia wondered. She did not yet understand that Eleanor's silence was not weakness, it was wisdom. Days turned into weeks. Eleanor visited occasionally, always dressed simply, always polite, always quiet. Some family members ignored her. Others spoke to her slowly, as if she could not understand. Eleanor noticed who showed kindness: a young cousin who offered her water, a housekeeper who smiled warmly. She remembered every gesture. One evening, the Carters hosted a formal event celebrating a new business partnership. Writers, professors, and cultural figures were invited. Daniel hesitated before inviting his mother. "Are you sure?" he asked gently. Eleanor smiled. "Yes, it is time." The moment Eleanor entered the hall, a sudden hush spread. A famous literature professor froze mid-sentence. "Eleanor White?" he whispered. People turned. Phones appeared. Murmurs grew louder. "The Eleanor Wright?" someone asked. Victoria's face drained of color. The host stepped forward, stunned. "We are honored," he said, voice trembling. "Your work shaped generations." Eleanor nodded politely. Amelia stared in disbelief. She had read Eleanor's books in college, quoted them, admired the author without knowing she stood beside her. Tears filled her eyes. Later that night, Victoria approached Eleanor. "Why didn't you tell us?" she asked. Eleanor was "I wanted to know who you would be if you thought I was lonely." No anger, no love, just the truth. The Carter family treated of the past. Conversations stopped. Apologies were made. Amelia sought them as forgiveness and forgiveness. Eleanor gave freedom. Eleanor returned to her simple room unchanged. She did not need recognition. She had already learned what she came to learn. Respect revealed, character exposed, and silence, once again, had spoken her.